This video is going to be a trade recap of how I made the 11K, but also I'm going to dabble into a little bit of a lesson of standard deviation because one of my mentorship students requested it. So it's going to be a little bit of both. The first part of the video will be diving into the actual trade I took and why I took it. And then the second half of the video will be dabbling into a quick kind of overview of how standard deviation plays into my trading. So this was Thursday. This was the 11K day. I'll put up the P&L right here. And what I saw here was we have our accumulation. So I trade power 3, so accumulation, manipulation, distribution. And right now we have some pretty obvious accumulation. I mean, it's not like perfect, but I would call this accumulation. Sorry, I'm getting blinded by my own light. And I would say we need to now put in our manipulation move before we go longer. And you're wondering, why would I say we go longer here? Well, because our obvious target was this gap. But the question is, this is where SDV comes in. I know I'm going pretty quickly here. I'll slow down actually, because if someone's a beginner, they would not understand all what I'm yapping about. So we come into the day, and it's currently 9:28. It's 9:29. You're looking at the chart, and you're like, all right, what the heck am I looking at? I see this uptrend. I see this whole uptrend. Surely we need to like course correct or something. I have no idea what I'm looking at. So I come over here, and I come to my monthly. This is where I always start. And I do a top-down analysis. I say, okay, the monthly, we've already put in our low. This is super important. This is our monthly candle. This is our open, this dotted line. That's always going to be our open. We put in our low. We got to put in a high. So it's open, low, high, close. So that I can go over that in a different video. I'll probably have another video up for that if you guys are curious about that. If you're wondering about open, high, low, close. But now we're dropping down to the 4 hour, which is super important. This is our 6 a.m. 4 hour candle. I know there's a lot of information. If you're not a competent trader and I'm throwing too much at you, I will be creating a beginner course where you can go through all these concepts, and everything I'm yapping about will hopefully start to click in your brain. I'm going to keep going through this like someone who's watching this is a competent trader. Because that's kind of who I make videos for, but I will make a beginner course for someone who knows absolutely nothing. So we have to put in our manipulation leg. So we come here, 9:15, and I see this. I had a limit order set on open. It was not for 15 contracts. I think I had it for 6, which is the most I could put onto that account because I was pretty convinced that this open price would be our reversal. Now, I figured this would be our manipulation. If it wasn't, we would go lower and we would sweep out London lows, which I also thought was a possibility today. I was watching this, and I actually took these shorts as well, now that I'm thinking about it. Sorry. I'm remembering this day as I'm going through it. So when I got up early, and I don't believe I took these shorts. No, I don't think I did. I can turn on executions. We'll see. That's not going to work on replay. Whatever. I don't think I took that short. It doesn't matter. This wasn't part of the 11K. There was a short later that I took that I'm thinking about. Anyways, so here, I'll actually get into the trade. I didn't place it. Smart one. Okay. So here, I was on a 100K account, so placed it on open. And then for these trades, if I'm doing an open trade, I will do a 10-point stop. So my stop loss was at 32, right there, 32. So you can see price where I bought was 0.42. This is the only time I would do a static stop. Normally I would say if you're doing stop loss, base it on price, base it on a gap, base it on a higher low. For this context, I would do a 10-point stop. But you can see we get tapped into perfectly, go into minimal drawdown. Let me show you the actual stop, 32 right there. So for risking about 1% of the account, I already had about I had about 23K in that account, so I was able to risk this. If you were in a normal trade, this one contract, you would only be risking like $200-300. It'd be really minimal. So let's say here, but this is where I mess up because I see this, I'm taking this trade on my phone, and I would trail to here. We're chilling. I'm like, okay, I'm relaxed. Even if we come down to this gap, I think this is going to hold. I'm chilling. I'm like, okay, I think we're going way higher than this. And this is where SDV comes in, because when I hop down onto my 5-minute, SDV can be driven on 5-minute or 15, and you want to draw it from a prominent high or prominent low. This is our prominent low all the way down here. And when I draw it like this, actually, let me drop down to the 5-minute to get it a little more precise. This is our, so the way SDV works is we're in a bearish trend right here. As soon as it reverses, this is a little complicated, so bear with me. Here's a bearish trend right here. This is a bearish trend. Then we get our prominent low. So there's 3 parts to SDV. The bearish, the trend, the prominent low that it or high that it puts in, and then the first candle that's opposite of the, so it's basically the manipulation. So you can see bearish trend, bullish candle, bearish candle. That bearish candle is where we draw our SDV to. So we go to the bottom here, and then we put our 1. We always put our 1 at the higher low, and then we take our 0 and we put it at the top wick of the first opposite candle. So like, let's say I'm up here. It's not a great example because it's not really a prominent high or low. Let me find here here's a prominent low. Let's see if this plays out. So I haven't actually tested this. We'll be drawing this. So we can see, yeah. So you can see right here, we come up to 2.25. And the way I did that, it's not like the best drawing in the world, but it'll work. This is low-key me just backtesting right now. So draw 1 right here on the bottom, very bottom, prominent low, and then the first bearish candle you can see right there. And this is on the 5-minute. Now, if we did it for a bearish structure, that's actually what I was looking for here. Let's see if this works out. We have our prominent high. There's our first bullish candle. We put it on the bottom right there. There's a tiny wick right there. And then you can see we come all the way down and it goes below this. But either way, I would have taken profit here or would have taken profit at, you can see it lines up with the gaps. Now, the way you know a standard deviation pole is valid is if it lines up with higher time frame PD arrays. So like, let's say we come over here, we can see that our standard deviation we drew previously, or like, let's say use our previous example of this guy right here. We drop down to the 15-minute. You can see the 3.5. Well, actually, I mean, I would go, it's not the best example. Trading always doesn't, when I'm going through these, actually, there we go, perfect. So we go down to the 10-minute. I would say this gap right here aligns with these prices. I would have shorted down from here. We get an inverse gap. You can see structures changing, it's changing. This is the middle of the night though, so this is Asia, so that's why it's not the best example, but price is changing structure. We're going bearish trend. I would have TP'd like right here at 4. So you can see there's an example. It's not bad. I like New York sessions as an example better, but here's a great example actually. If you're interested in this crazy move, this was the Trump-induced move where you could have caught a decent amount of it, but the problem with this was, actually, let me use the 15 so you get a better projection. You could have gotten a decent amount of that move. Obviously not all of it. In fact, there's a significant amount, but unless you have a swing account, you probably couldn't have taken this, like a live account, to swing trade that on. But you could have gotten a lot of it. You could have gotten at least, like let's say, that's that's almost 400 points. So that's ridiculous. You could have caught in that entire day just because you used, and a lot of people miss this move. So very helpful. Now the reason I thought we were bullish was, as you can see, this brings us back to our original trade. We have a very obvious accumulation manipulation. This is our manipulation leg right here. Pretty obvious manipulation. We tap into the gap right here. We draw our SDV. I think, okay, we're bullish on the day. I take my trade once open hits and the volume is there. It all comes back together. That's why I explained all that. All coming back to the trade where I'm up 6 grand. I'm thinking, okay, we're chilling. We come back, tap into the gap. I'm a little stressed. I'm walking home. I'm like, all right, this trade is playing with me a little bit. And then I get stopped out. Now, what happened was I actually see this happen and I re-entered off this sweep of this low and off this sweep of open. So I re-enter with my 6 cons. I actually get BE'd here. So I round trip 6K, and I go, okay, I still think we're going for previous day high, and I think we're going past it. So I take this, I go BE again, I'm up again, and now we hit my what should have been my TP, and this is where I ran into the problem, and I fully like take this upon myself, because I mean, not everyone can be perfect, but I actually will never do this again. So my TP should have been this previous day high at 8.9K, which should be great, right? No, because of the SDV and because of the PD array, which was this 4-hour gap, I thought we were going to push further into it. I thought we were going to go to this 2.25, or at least to this gap up here. I thought we were going to go to this gap. I thought I was going to have like generational longs. I was expecting that instead. But no, unfortunately, for the second time that day, I take one contract off, so I secure about $1,500 worth of profit, which is still great for most people, but for me, I was up 8K, so, and then bam, absolute Drake candle, painful, and I get BE'd for the second time that day. So now I'm up 1,500 on the day, and I'm like, okay, I'm up 1,500 on the day. I'm up more than most people make in 2 weeks. I'm chilling, but you see, I want one more. I don't think this is the final move. We've been chopping all day. How could it be? We haven't even seen distribution yet. So I'm looking for something else. And that's something else. You're like, how did I come up with that 11K? You shall see. I waited and I had patience. My friend, patience is the answer. Because you wait for 10 a.m. Now, 10 a.m. opens and you can see it open right here. You can see it right here. And I say to myself, okay, we just swept previous day high. And we're not going further than that, apparently. And 10 a.m. looks super bearish. Now, to me, now this PO3, accumulation, manipulation, distribution, looks like this. It no longer looks bullish. So I change my bias and I say, wow, we are super bearish on the day. Okay, I can see this happening. This is interesting. Okay, I can change, and that's the part about being a trader, that you need to be reactionary and not set in stone. A lot of people go into the day and they'll have a daily bias and they're like, it's bullish today, we're going up, and I'm like, maybe. But I see this, I take my 4 doubloons, actually I take my 6 doubloons, I'm pretty sure, and I might have waited for a retrace. Actually, I don't. I wish I could see my executions here. No, I think I waited. I waited for an obvious, yeah, I still didn't trust it. Then we get break, oh, I remember, I entered on break of structure, I think. So really simple, honestly, like very simple confluence, but break of structure is like literally the most simple, straightforward confluence I think I can use. When you close below a low like this, it's literally just a close below a low, break of structure, BOS. That is a super easy confluence. So if I'm not mistaken, I did not take that. Okay, I actually need to look at my executions for today. So for some reason it won't show me my executions at all, even when I turn on execution labels. So I'm just gonna have to guess where I entered here. And why. So I'm gonna have to try to remember this. Sorry, even though it was yesterday, there was a lot going on. I had a lot on my mind, and I put up, it was weird, I put up 11K. I was kind of just like, I don't know, it was solid, don't get me wrong, but anyways, sorry, that was a psychology thing. I'll do a psychology video later. That's very important. Where was Thursday? Thursday's here. I'm getting blasted by this light, even though it helps you guys see me better. Look, it makes my eyes tired. Let's go back. So yeah, we do get a break of structure here. No, I entered off the gap. That's this with perfect entry. Okay, I remember. I remember it being pristine. So we get down here, and I see this, and I'm looking at this exact setup, and I'm like, this is glorious. Do you know why this is glorious? If you just take in this chart right now, you put your hands back, and you're like, this is the best short setup I have ever seen. This is S++. So I, my friend, take my 6 doubloonies, and I go blam, and I take my 6 doubloonies and I sell. and I put my stop loss right here above this gap. And now I will explain to you, my friend, why this is the best short setup you will ever see in your entire life, and you should put your entire house, you should sell your firstborn child for this short setup. All right, there's a gap here. It is above open for the 10 a.m. We've already put in our high manipulation. Okay, we only have one direction to go. It's one direction, like the band, right? Somebody else. I don't know their songs. Anyways, I'll play it right now. I don't know if I'm gonna edit that in. It'd be really awkward if I don't edit it. I'm not gonna edit it in, just to be funny. So we absolutely plummet from there, and I make bank. I make absolute schmackaroonies. Not only that, but we put in another gap. So what do I get to do? I get to trail. Now my stop, instead of being ridiculous and risking a lot of money because I was so convicted on that, now my stop loss is perfect. It's glorious. And in fact, I can't even remember because I might have actually taken this, I might have had a perfect entry on this, but I can't see my executions, and I'm pretty sure I did. I don't want to like grift because I don't remember if I got the perfect entry here, but I'm pretty sure I saw this gap form, I saw it close, and I put it right on open. But I don't want to make that claim because my entries aren't showing for some reason. Either way, the stop loss would still be pretty significant. It is only lowering it by like a percent, so it doesn't matter. Anyways, risking a lot, making a lot. Holy schmackaroonies. Gotta love it. Risk to reward was pretty solid. I drew that out. And now, this is where SDV comes in and gives us absolute hand, because it shows us that we are going down. Oh my goodness, we're flopping. Price gone, schmacked, gobsmackered. And you can see, look at all that price action. Whoa. Whoa. It lines up perfectly with midnight open, and it lines up perfectly with this 15-minute gap right here. Who would have thunk it? So I held. I was actually only in 4 contracts. Sorry, this is all coming back to me. All right, 4 contracts, still making bank, still absolutely printing. TP is all the way down here at the golden, beautiful, beautiful zones where I was absolutely beaming that this TP was gonna hit, and you know what happens because we already know what the P&L looks like. Bam, 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 bam. P&L gets absolutely smackaroonied. Boom! Huge trade. Everyone loves to see it. We actually end up going ballistic during PM, and we go to the full previous day low. Now you may be wondering why I only took TP there, because I only could make that amount on the account to satisfy the consistency rule. Otherwise I would have taken it to previous day low, and it would have been my best trade of all time, because that literally, I've never seen a better setup. I mean, damn, that thing is pristine. It's holy grail of setups. It's perfect. Now, if it would let me show you how much money that would have been had it been a full TP, because it won't for some reason. All right, TP all the way down to previous day low. You can see kind of overlaps with the SDV, kind of doesn't. Honestly, I would have taken it at 3.5 here, not the previous day low, because I don't trust. Yeah, let's go down to the one. All right, low key things with previous day low, gotta know this. Just a trick of the trade. Sometimes if you have an indicator that marks out previous day low, it won't mark it out perfectly. You always want to go with like, actually in this case it does actually hit it, but if there's like, how do I describe this? Let's say there's a candle right here and the wick, this is a very specific scenario, and the wick is right there. You want to go for this one and not the bottom one if it's a previous day low. I don't know why. It's just bitten me in the butt so many times. I'll explain that in a future video. You'll see what I'm talking about. Anyways, little Antonio tidbit right there. Just missing something. Low-key, had I gotten full TP, it would have been like 30 bandos, but I could not. I could only make like 12K on that account, so that's what I did. But I had already made, that was the thing, I had already made, I was already up 5K on the day, and I could only make 17 on the account. So I ended up making, do the math, 5 plus minus 17. Wow, 12K. I made 12K. So this trade I took right there at 12K exactly, but I was already up 5,000 on the day, so you know, pretty crazy. Anyways, that's a little 1 to 15, 1 to 16. I'd round up, and yeah, that's how you catch absolute bangers with SDV. That's pretty much it. If you want to see more funny trades from me, join my Discord, because that's where I do all the funny trades. If you wanted more education, subscribe, because that's where I do the education. Who would have thunk? Bye.